What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Christian Labosco podcast. Today, I've got somebody who needs no introduction, Dakota Robertson. In case you haven't heard of him, Dakota Robertson has 265,000 Twitter followers and went from a college dropout to a 1 million net worth in 3 years. I'm super honored to have him on as a guest. How are you today?
I am peachy keen once again. That's my default, but yeah, I'm doing well. I appreciate you having me on.
Well, I appreciate you coming on. It's really, really exciting. Biggest guest so far, and one of the first people I got introduced to when I joined the creator economy. So it's exciting.
Yeah, indoctrinating the youth. I like it.
Dakota University.
Yeah. Oh God.
Yeah.
Get a degree in shit posting.
Probably more effective than most degrees today. So
yeah.
Who are some of the people you look up to the most in the creator economy at your current point as a creator?
Right now, I really like Alex Hormozi, as cliche as that is. I think his ability to explain complex topics in a simple way is first class. I also, when I started, Dan Coe was a huge influence on me. Just his philosophy and opening me up to what is out there and what the possibilities were was a huge inspiration. Who else? I mean, there's a ton of different creators that I love for different aspects. But yeah, I'd say those are the two biggest ones that had an influence on me. I'm sure there's more that I'm just not thinking off the top of my head, but those are two that come to mind.
Yeah, I think those are two that a lot of people can resonate with.
Yeah.
It's interesting. They sort of have differing philosophies in some ways, Alex Hormozi and Dan Coe, but both of them are successful in their own ways.
They're both very stoic. One thing that surprised me when I first met Dan was how stoic he actually is. And I had to bring out the inner potato in him, just living with him for a bit. But yeah, it's just interesting when you actually meet people from social media in person. But yeah, they're cool guys. I never met Alex, but he seems like a cool guy.
Yeah. Is there any people that it was at the beginning that are different than it is now?
Sorry, could you elaborate on that? Like how so?
When you joined as a creator on Twitter, were there certain creators that you looked up to at that point that were helpful for the beginning of your journey?
Yeah, I think Gary V. I mean, he was a very motivational, hustle, stuff like that. That was good at the start. I don't really agree with a lot of his videos now.
I saw
just
your
with my
video on it,
experience. Yeah, but I still think he's good for motivation and stuff like that. I heard his new book's great, so maybe I got to give that a read. But I think Gary V. I never followed too many creators religiously at the start. That really like changed too much. Chris Do was amazing. He had a big impact on me at the start, and thinking about how to brand myself and actually succeed with content. But he's still the same guy. He's great. He's probably one of my favorites and one of the brands I want to emulate the most.
I've never heard of him, so it's definitely someone I'll look at. Is he
Yeah.
on Twitter or YouTube?
Yeah, he's on all the platforms. I think YouTube's probably his primary one, YouTube and Instagram, because he's a designer. So yeah, but he's great. He's amazing. Highly recommend.
Yeah. What was that moment when you realized that the creator economy was legit, that you could really make money online?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, I don't think it was a. Yeah, there was actually. Okay, so I was growing my following, and I didn't know where I was going to lead, but I knew there was an opportunity with growing your social media. I just didn't know what it was going to be. And I remember the first time I made money from social media was affiliating. So I got a sale for Dan Coe's community at the time, and I got $5. And I remember I was sitting in a cafe and I saw the email. You've you've earned a commission. It was $5, and I was like, holy shit, this is real. You can actually make money. And although it was only $5, it was just that switch from going 0 to 1. And it
Mm.
just made me start thinking, okay, if I can make $5, then I can make 100, and then I can make 1,000, and so on and so forth. And it just really clicked for me. It felt so real. And I remember messaging Dan. I was like, oh my God, I just made this money. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. And yeah, it just really clicked for me. And it was a big motivation for me. And that's why I always recommend to new creators, like, do whatever you can, make your first dollar on the internet, because that's what's going to change. That's going to cause that shift in your mind, because, it's not real until you actually make that first sale. Really, for me, it wasn't, but yeah, I think it was that was in the summer. Yeah, the summer of 2021. Yeah, that was it. Yeah, summer of 2021. So I was creating
Wow.
content for like 8 months until I made that sale.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
amazing what's happened since your first sale and now, going
Yeah.
from just 3 years, the exponential
Yeah,
growth.
it's nuts, man. You look back on it and you just realize all the steps and all the work you put in really just compounds over time. And a lot of people, they'll quit before they reach that compounding point. And it really is a game of consistency, as cliche as it is. But I know so many people that they were so strong starting out, they're growing like crazy. They get 6 months in and they just quit
Mm.
because, life, because they get ratioed on Twitter and they can't handle it. Coworkers find out they have an account, they're just scared of what other people think. But those that stick it out, they find success. Like, I think of Kieran Drew, creator on Twitter. He's got like 200 something thousand followers now. I remember for a year, I remember he was one of the first people I started out with. For a year, he's barely growing, and I was like, "Oh, this guy's going to give up eventually, probably." Like, he's just putting in all this effort, just not getting returns. And then he started figuring it out. And he started getting traction, started growing, and fast forward a couple years, and he has this 500K a year business, writing online, and this huge audience. And it's just because he stuck with it. He learned from his mistakes and eventually got better. And now he's kicking ass, taking names.
Yeah, I definitely think people don't have an action bias at the start, and that's something that I didn't have, where I just didn't consistently take action or take action at all because I would just overthink. I remember I wanted to do car washing when I was like 12, so I spent a month researching the best pricing model and like best equipment, and then I never even washed a car. So
Yeah, well, it's that it's like, I read a book a week, mental masturbation stuff, and they have the books in the background so everyone can see on the Zoom calls, and they're like, oh yeah, yeah, I'm so smart. It's like, okay, what have you done? Well, what actions have you taken? Have you applied a lesson from one chapter? Fuck the books. Like, what are you
yeah,
doing? And that's when they're, oh well, just shut up. And
yeah,
it's hard because you feel like you're being productive because you're researching, you're going through courses, you're reading books, but in reality, you're not doing shit all. And that's why, yeah, it's so important just to put yourself out there and actually do this stuff. But a lot of people, they procrastinate in ways that look productive, which is
yeah.
funny.
I think this is from Atomic Habits. It's like his idea of motion versus action, and like action has a risk, and motion sort of looks like you're doing the thing that you should be doing, but there's no risk associated. So like instead of actually taking action, you just read about what taking action could do and how to take action.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny too because you take small steps over time, and it feels like the whole world's watching and it feels so complex. But then once you start doing it, you realize, oh, this is actually really simple, and you learn the nuances of it. And then looking back, like, oh shit, yeah, it's like you just do this, and you get that result. But at the time, you're so in the weeds, you're overthinking everything. It's like the
Mhm.
midwit meme where you got the person in at the top in the middle, and then they're just overcomplicating it, and then the idiot on the left side and the smart genius on the right, and they're doing the same stuff. I find it's applicable to everything in life. At least for me, it was. And even me now, I'm creating curriculum for a new offer, and I'm overcomplicating it. I'm trying to find the best frameworks how to do stuff, and I'm just reminding myself like, don't be the midwit, don't be the midwit. Just you just got to do it, and sure, like do some research, but at the end of
Yeah.
the day, yeah, you just got to do shit and iterate.
Yeah. I think I've heard this from somebody that experience is the best teacher. And I think that is so true in basically everything.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And I mean, the only way you get experience is going out and doing stuff and taking those risks, right?
Yeah. Who would you say are some of the individuals that have had the most significant impact on who you are today? Maybe besides people in the creator economy, like general
Hmm.
authors or thinkers.
My mom, first and foremost, she was amazing. She was a great woman. Just really instilled good values in me from the get go. And she was also telling me as a kid, Dakota, like, this is when I was like 8 or 10 years old. She's like, Dakota, don't work for somebody else, work for yourself. Um, Basically, just saying that's where the leverage is. And
Mhm.
she was right. I didn't understand it at the time, but looking back on it now, I didn't realize how influential she was on me. She set such a great example, and just really caring and empathetic, and I love her to bits. So she had the biggest impact on me. And my humor, she was fucked in the head. I loved it. Just so weird, and it just unapologetically her. So that was a big inspiration for me. A lot of my coaches and teachers. So jujitsu, I had a lot of great coaches. My football teacher in high school, he believed in me when I didn't really believe in myself. And he saw potential in me, and that was a huge drive for me. My brother, he's just a really good friend and has always been there for me. So I'm super appreciative of him. He's unconditionally loving. Um, and yeah, some really good friends along the way. My buddy Nathan had a huge impact on me, and Danco. I mean, we were good friends. We lived together for a while, and Nick Verge. He's a great friend as well. Love that guy. And yeah, just like too many to count. Like I owe
Mm.
so much to different people at different times, and that shaped me to who I am now, and they continue to do so. So I got love for them.
That's amazing. Yeah. Definitely really resonate with when you talk about your mom or your parents. I know that you didn't have your father around growing up because I've seen your
Hmm.
video, but I definitely think having even just one parent that looks after you is so powerful for any child and person for when you grow up.
Yeah, and yeah, my father wasn't in the picture, so I had to look for the masculine essence in other ways. But I kind of got that through books or podcasts like Jordan Peterson. I remember
Mm.
I was googling my first time coming across him was like how to get over social anxiety, and I saw one of his talks and just had a huge influence on me, and his philosophy on different things. And yeah, so even if you don't actually know the person, you can get it from you know
Yeah.
online in some form.
Yeah. I definitely resonate a lot with Jordan Peterson. I'm not as aligned with what I just think politics gets too confusing when you dive too into it, but his old talks
Yeah,
like 6 years ago, I really
yeah.
enjoy those.
We want the old JP back. Yeah, now he's just like really into politics. I just wish he would. I think he was spitting fire when he was kind of talking more to the young men in
Men, yeah.
our generation, because there's a lot of us that are lost. And yeah, now he's more focused on the politics side of stuff, but whatever.
Is that something you would ever get into later in life, being a political
Politics?
person?
Oh God, no. No, I like following politics because I think it's interesting. It's like, well, this one big drama series. Like, I don't watch the Keeping Up with the Kardashians, but I watch the world politics because I think it's interesting. Everyone's doing these different chess moves and just seeing how it all navigates. I think it's really fascinating. But yeah, that's not my game. I don't want to get into politics. God, no.
Yeah. Uh, Yeah, it's just so much corruption and there's so difficult to find what's true and not. I can't imagine
Yeah,
what it's like to be an actual politician.
Oh god, yeah, it's a dirty game, and I do not want to get involved. There's
Yeah.
enough
Um,
politics on social media, man. Like this, I have friends on LinkedIn, and just seeing the drama on there. Oh my god, it's like 13-year-olds at a middle school.
yeah.
It's brutal.
Yeah, and it's just interesting because most of the people that are spewing like whatever I support right, I support left. It's just a lot of it's just like I think Jordan Peterson would say ideology, whereas you're not fully understanding what you're actually saying. It's just sort
Yeah,
of
it's just
yeah.
groupthink. You know, you press people on what they're talking about, and you actually present facts or something critical of it, and they can't back up what they're saying because they're just parroting what someone else says. And it's true, really true on the left, but also on the right as well. And I get caught in that sometimes too. Just like, why do I actually believe this? It's like, is it
Mhm.
just because I heard it from someone I respect, or it sounded true? You got to question your own beliefs a lot of the time, or else you can get caught in that group think.
Yeah, critical thinking and thinking for yourself is like the rarest thing in this modern
Yeah,
day.
yeah, bunch of NPCs.
It's really true though. Even though it's video game term, it's basically what most of society is.
Yeah. Well, it's like I just view life as a video game pretty much.
Mm.
You learn skills, you level up, you unlock new levels, new bosses, you use your experience points to unlock new skills, whatever. It's
New
like,
connections. Yeah.
yeah, and then like Elon Musk thinks we're living in a video game or simulation. He says there's a high probability, more likely than not, we're in a
Mhm.
simulation. It's just funny when you just think about it. It's like, oh yeah, it's very possible. I could be a robot.
Yeah. You just like wake up and you're like a 10-year-old playing a VR game to
That'd be crazy,
simulate a
dude.
life.
I think about that sometimes. You could just wake up at any moment and be like, "Oh, I was in a video
It's a
game."
dream. It's a dream.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. Is
Yeah.
I joke about this with my buddies Dale and Talon, where we did ayahuasca together, but we joke about it all the time. We're like, we're probably still high on ayahuasca. And we're gonna wake up when we're back at the ceremony, and like we think all this stuff happened, but it didn't. And it was just like there's the past 2 years. We're just high on ayahuasca.
Yeah. It's really trippy when you think about it too much.
Yeah.
What would you say were some of the books that had this most significant impact, maybe on who you are, but also the skills that you've developed?
Yeah. So skill wise, writing tools by Roy Peter Clark, $100 million offers by Alex Ramosi, and yeah, I think those are like the main ones that stick out. Oh, Influence by Robert Cialdini. That was a great book. Not only for business but also for life. That helped me not get scammed when I was in Bangkok one time. Um, and then personal, I really like psychocybernetics. Um, what else? Awareness by Anthony DeMello. Um, Think and Grow Rich. I don't like it now, but back when I read it, it was very impactful for me. Just changing the way I think. Rich Dad Poor Dad as well, same thing. Changed how I perceived what I could do with my life and got me on the personal development rabbit hole. No More Mr. Nice Guy. That was an amazing book. Um, I highly recommend that if you're a man, especially if you're agreeable. Like I naturally tend to be. And Models by Mark Manson. That's a lesser known book on dating, but I think it's applicable to life and relationships. That had a really big impact on me. Um, yeah. Oh, The Way of the Superior Man, that helped me after a breakup just understand the man's role in a relationship. That was a big one as well. But yeah, those are some that come to mind.
Yeah, those are a lot of good ones and some I've never heard.
Hmm.
Like I forget maybe the fourth book you said, but yeah, some I read Influence. I I think read half of it, and it's so dense, but there's so much take away from it that you can apply to basically everything. Just
Yeah,
understanding how it works, like the
it's
brain
crazy
works.
because it's like seeing the Matrix, because then you see it everywhere in advertising, or when you're in the shopping mall, or marketing, whatever. um, yeah, it's cool. It's cool when you learn something and then you actually see it. You're like, oh, that's what that is. It just
Yeah,
becomes so
yeah,
much more
yeah,
real.
yeah. It's like you understand the code, and now every time you see the pattern, you keep recognizing
Yeah,
it.
yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um, Moving on to sort of personal branding and Twitter growth. If you had to start over from square one, what would be the ultimate skill stack you would build in the first year of building a business with a personal brand?
I mean, I, it's going to be different for everybody because, I enjoy writing, but some people absolutely hate it. And if you don't like the skill, then you're not going to want to get better at it, and it's just going to be difficult. So I wouldn't say there's one for everybody, but for me, I think the best skills you can learn is writing, specifically copywriting, but writing in general, storytelling. I guess that's like falls into writing. Oh, there's a thumbs up. Marketing, sales, AI. I think those are kind of the core four. So marketing, AI, sales, writing. I guess writing could fall under marketing, but
Yeah.
I think those you learn those and you're set. But I would start with one or two. So I'd probably start with writing and marketing, and then just really delve into those so you don't overwhelm yourself, and then um, yeah, stack on other ones down the line.
What would be those resources you would go to learn those skills?
So writing, I think writing tools by Roy Peter Clark. I mean, people there's some writers that shit on writing books. They're like read fiction. I don't agree with that at all. I think if you have frameworks you can follow that are actionable and applicable, I think is super helpful. That way you're not just wondering what to do. So writing tools by Roy Peter Clark's amazing. 100 Ways to Improve Your Writing by Gary Prevost. And I think those are the best ones I've read. They're very succinct and they'll get you a lot of the way there. For copywriting, I I've read copywriting books. Um, None that were like, holy shit, like, this is the holy grail, but anything by Joe Sugarman's great. I read some Dan Kennedy stuff. What else? I haven't read too many copywriting books. Oh, a good one is Great Leads by Michael Masterson. That's a really good one. Um, so yeah, Michael Masterson, Dan Kennedy, Joe Sugarman's great, but there's Gary Halpert, David Ogilvy, all those guys, but I didn't really get into them too much. So that's copywriting, marketing, or sorry, I want to touch on storytelling too. Storyworthy is fantastic. I think that's the best storytelling book out there. It's funny, the other storytelling books, they don't tell stories. It's just
Mhm.
funny to me. It's like, how are you like what?
Uh,
There's
yeah,
like we did a meta analysis and this is blah blah.
it,
Shut up, tell a story. So Storyworthy is pretty much the only one I recommend. And then let's say marketing. Oh God, $100 million leads, $100 million offers. Those are fantastic. Seth Godin's got a bunch of great ones. I find they're less actionable, but they're still good for understanding the concepts. Um, God. Oh, Never Lose a Customer Again by Joey Coleman. That's a fantastic one. That's more fulfillment and how to service customers but not lose them. But that's like highly underrated in today's world where everyone's just trying to attain
yeah.
customers but not retain them.
Mhm.
So that's one of the best books I read on business. And yeah, those are some that stands out for that. I just fiddled around with AI. I never read any books on it. Just be very specific with prompts and what you want, and yeah, you'll get the way there. And then sales, I don't really recommend any books on sales. I recommend hiring a coach, because sales is, you're talking to a human, and you're not going to learn sales by reading a book. I think
Yeah.
reading a sales book is useful after you've actually done a bunch of sales calls and you understand the foundations. But I think you learn the foundations by actually doing it, but also getting feedback from a coach or consultant, I think is super helpful, because there's a tonality in how you speak to somebody. Like if I'm talking monotone like this and blah blah blah, like it's just going to change the perception of the
Mhm.
conversation.
Yeah.
Also recording your calls and seeing where is the resistance with the prospect and how to handle the objection. It's like different stuff like that you're not going to get from a book.
Mm.
So
Experience,
unless,
yeah.
okay, Alex Ramosi's got great YouTube videos on sales, like his closer framework. That's really useful. So okay, I'll give that. But yeah, those are some of the resources that have been really helpful to me.
Yeah, that's amazing. Some of those I've never heard of. And then going back to the like the storytelling books, how you say Storyworthy's the best and the other ones don't like tell a story in their
Mm.
act of teaching. I think it's like Alex Ramosi gave this example of someone who wrote a book on how to sell a book and has like one review on Amazon.
Yeah. It's like the ghostwriters that say, "Oh, I'll grow your following by 10,000 followers in 90
And
days."
they
It's
have
like, dude,
five
you
followers.
have 500. Yeah, you have 500 followers. Like, what?
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah. And then why do you think that people are so focused on the initial revenue rather than retaining clients in like this modern business
I think it's
space?
just like the monkey caveman brain. Like, oh, more clients, more money. But okay, what about when you have your clients? Like, it's more expensive to try to attain new clients than it is to retain clients, and it compounds a lot more, right? Like if I have an excellent program, course, whatever, service, those people are naturally going to tell other people within their circle. And those people that are referred are way more likely to convert because they trust their friend or the person they know. And that's just stuff that compounds, because if they join your program and they have a great experience, they're going to tell everyone they know. And there's just this flywheel effect where it just compounds greater and greater, and the cost to get those clients or customers is fractional of what it would
Yeah.
cost to do it in a different means. So I think, yeah, maximizing lifetime customer value is something that's neglected, and it's just because, I don't know, like we're just always taught, oh yeah, market, get more clients, but you know, people don't want to do the harder work, which is fulfillment. Actually, make sure people have a great experience, and
Yeah.
that's not even just with the technical or logic aspect, but also the emotional aspect. Like, what are you doing to create a great emotional experience for people? There's a lot of services and programs that, sure, they deliver maybe a good service or product, but how often are you communicating with them? Are you empathetic with them? Are you showing like you actually give a fuck about them and who they are? So finding different ways to do that is also beneficial.
Yeah. It sort of sounds like your reputation is the long term play. Because if you just get a lot of clients up front, you ruin your reputation. So then you also can't get new clients and you're not keeping the clients you got rather than focusing on reputation, which may take longer because you have to build a relationship with the people that do sign up.
Yeah, man, it's actually crazy, the amount of people that they just don't care. Like, for example, I was gonna I was gonna work with some people, and they were rushing. I was gonna partner with them. They're rushing me to get some stuff done, and I was just like had a bad feeling. Like, I don't want to put out a bad product or offer, and I just like don't got a good feeling about it. So I like cut the partnership. But I knew someone else that these people were working with, and the thing they worked on together was a shit show. After, it was just like really rushed. They didn't do a good job. They sure they made some good initial money because they got a bunch of customers and clients, but they did not retain them. It just all went to shit real fast. And now that person's reputation that partnered with them is tarnished a bit, because all those people that joined, they didn't have a good experience, and now they're probably never going to buy from that person ever again. And then word of mouth is not just one way where, oh, this was really good and they tell everyone else. It's also the other way too. Like, this was really bad and they tell other people, and then your reputation's screwed among those people. So yeah, I think, any person that makes it far in business, for the most part, I mean, there's people that aren't the best, but I think the people that care about their reputation a lot, they get the farthest ahead. I think Warren Buffett has some kind of quote where, I don't care if I lose money, whatever, but if you uh, lose me a shred of my reputation, then I'll fucking kill you. He didn't say that, but the last part, but he's something like that. Like he cares about reputation a lot more than money, because reputation is, you only got one. And once that's tarnished, you're screwed, right? So just, yeah. And looking at it too, like that's why personal brands are powerful, because you only have one name, and people inherently know if you do some shady stuff, that's it. That's your name. You're gone. So there's a certain level of accountability when you create content under your name, you create offers under your name, opposed to an anon account. Like I know ghostwriters, or people ask me for ghostwriters, I'll give them name of someone. They're like, I don't work with anon accounts. Like I just don't work with anon people, and it's the same reason, because they don't trust them. So there's a lot of accountability when you use stuff under your name.
Yeah. And I think sort of those people that don't deliver are kind of what gives the salesman a bad name. That when you say sales, people just think of like this sleazy salesman who's just trying to sell, sell, sell and not give
Yeah,
people good results.
yeah. I've had in the past where I've had a salesperson. They were just they made promises to one of my clients, and the client came to me like months later and was like, "Hey, like I was promised this, this, and this." I was like, "What?" Like well, like what? That was the first time I was hearing that, and that was because the salesperson was just trying to get the sale, so he would say
Mm,
whatever, and then I had to suffer the repercussions of that, because he didn't care about my brand; he cares about making the sale, and then ultimately that's my fault, because I should have set expectations, and I should have basically led better, but yeah, you just gotta like really look out for yourself, and yes, you gotta protect your own reputation, but you also gotta like protect others from screwing it up if you work with other people. And that's why it's really important you vet the people you associate with.
yeah, I've never heard of that scenario, but it makes a lot of sense. Like it's like misaligned goals. The sales guy gets money from just making the initial sale, and it's more valuable for you to get retaining income and also have build your reputation.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
misaligned.
Yeah. Looking for aligned incentives. That's, I think, the number one thing. So if you can find ways to align incentives at, every aspect, I think it goes, it helps everyone.
Yeah. What do you think are some of the biggest mistakes new creators are making when trying to grow a personal brand? And we could just say on X, or maybe you think there's a better platform right now, but
Yeah. So I think there's like ABCs. So, they're not seen as an authority. So I think this is like comes down to branding. Like there's three core parts. So ABC. So like authority. So are you useful to people? Do people perceive you as an authority? Because if you're not useful to people, then why would they follow you? For example, when I started on Twitter, I was trying to grow by creating generic content that appealed to everybody. And I was tweeting 5 times a day. I was commenting, okay, maybe 5 times, 5 to 10 times a day, nothing crazy. But I was struggling to grow. And even though I had a lot of tweets go viral in the comments, like fucking 2,000 likes, 100, 500 likes on stuff, they just didn't convert to followers, because I didn't give people incentive to follow me. I wasn't talking about a specific thing to help people. And it wasn't until I got 3 months in, stumbled across an account that was teaching copywriting. They blew up to 1,000 followers in 30 days. And they grew because they were teaching people and showing people how to solve problems, how to get to a desired outcome. And they were valued because they're giving valuable stuff. So I hopped on a call with him. It all clicked for me, because he said he was in the same position as me a year ago, eventually made the switch, and that's when he started growing. I did the same thing. I started growing. So being useful to people, being an authority, it's like number one of a brand. And then number two is the B. So B is bold. So let's say we have a bunch of fitness accounts and they're all saying the same thing: move more, eat less to lose weight. Well, it's like you don't stand out, right? So how do you stand out? Just you by being bold and by differentiating yourself. So what are the aspects you can lean into that will make people be like, oh, he's doing something different? So that could come down to your personality. That can come down to maybe the visuals aspects of your brand, different stuff like that. But you want to stand out. You don't want to be better. You want to be different. So I see this a lot with people now. They want to be a Dan Coe. They'll be all stoic and they'll like copy his stuff, and you're just a copy paste. And if you're a copy paste creator, like you're never gonna stand out, and you're always gonna be in the shadow of that person you're trying to emulate, and the other people trying to emulate that same person. So I think it's good to find people ahead you want to emulate, but take pieces and create your own brand. And then there's the C, which is connection. So a lot of people, they'll make the useful content and the how to's and all of that stuff. But at the end of the day, if people don't connect with you, if they don't aspire to be like you, or they don't relate to you, then, you're going to struggle to grow. You're going to struggle to get people invested in you as a person. And I don't know, it's just not going to be the best. So I think having those three elements baked in is really important. Really, like the biggest thing I see is people don't have a skill. They don't show people how to do anything. They're not useful. And you don't need to be an expert. You don't have to have 20 years of experience, but you need to be doing things outside of the online space, or I guess outside of the social media space, like go build a business, uh, go get fit. And you don't need to be, again, an expert, but teach what you're learning along the way to people a few steps behind you. And the more you start doing the stuff, whether it's working out, building a business, the more experience you're going to get, and the more people that are going to be behind you, and that increases the amount of followers you can get. And it's just this flywheel effect where do more stuff, talk about it, get more followers, and then you're also building your authority, and eventually you can launch an offer and people are going to be more prone to buy because you've been so useful to them, and they're like, oh wow, like I want to buy something from him because I need help, or I just appreciate this person giving me so much value, I want to reciprocate, right? So I think that's the biggest thing.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I'm sort of inadvertently trying to do those brand principles with the content I'm writing, like storytelling, because that's a very good way to build a connection with your audience. Then authority long forms, where you just have, I think it's like the difference between authority long forms and authority threads is authority threads are like a big thing, like your thread you had on Taylor Simmons, where you scaled them to 40K a month or something like that.
Yeah.
And then authority long forms are more documenting your wins and how you reach them, is sort of my way of looking at it.
Yeah. And I would lean into, because you're 15, right?
16 now, as like
6.
4 days ago.
You're an old man. Well, happy birthday. Um, Dude, lean into that hard, because how many kids your age are doing this shit, right? Like most people, like when I was 16, I was jerking off, playing football and playing Call of Duty, right? Um, so what you're doing is really different.
Yeah.
And I would lean into that hard and milk that to
Yeah.
all you
Start
can.
everything with I'm 16.
Yeah, because, well, one, you're going to stand out from all these freaking 40, 20 something year olds, because you're so different. Like there's no one doing what you're doing, but you're also going to be relatable to any other younger people in the space. And you're going to get hella followers that way, even from people really farther ahead, because they're like, oh, that's awesome. I love that this person's doing that at that age. Like it's just nuts. That's why I hopped on that call with you at the
Mm-hmm.
a while ago, because like, holy shit, this person's 15. Like, hell yeah, I want to help this person. Just kind of encourage them, because you see a lot of yourself in that person. It's cool. So I definitely lean into that with your authority stuff.
Yeah. Someone that I know has done it really well. I think I talked this on that about this on the post that you retweeted. I don't know if you know Vigo, but he's
The
sort of
blonde
blown
guy?
up. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
leans
he's
into
cool.
it really well and built the authority on that. So, and I'm
Yeah.
pretty good friends with him. So it's like anything I think I can't do, and he's basically just like has a whole team for YouTube and stuff. I'm like, well, I guess I can do that too.
Yeah, that kid's a beast. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. Um, and I think the mistake people make with like following Dan Coe is that instead of emulating his principles behind what he's doing, they just try to copy everything, or they don't realize sort of the depth that goes behind his platitudes and what he had to do to lead up to that. Like it's not like
Yeah.
he just posts drink water and it goes viral.
Well, it's like at the start, he was focused on web design, right? He niched down to a skill, was useful in that, built up as an authority, and then he earned the right to do the platitudes and stuff like that. Because like the difference between him tweeting drink water and some random guy off the street tweeting drink water is Dan will get a hella engagement because people know, like, and trust him, and they know there's actual depth behind it, opposed to a random guy. Well, he hasn't built up any credibility or authority, so they're not going to want to listen to him or care what he thinks, right? It's like a homeless person. Okay, this is kind of bad, but like some random person, oh, maybe they're homeless, maybe they're not, but you're probably going to take what they say with a grain of salt or
A
discredit
little more
them.
than that, yeah.
Yeah, because it's like why you're just a random person, right? Opposed to, I don't know, Jesus coming down from the sky. It's like, oh yeah, like drink water. Like I trust that guy, right? So just different perceptions.
Yeah. I think it's like two things, like you said, like sort of the authority he has because he's gotten results. And then I think his long form content where he provides so much depth and people really get to know, like, and trust him through his newsletter and YouTube videos.
Yeah, it's like the time under attention. So if someone, like, how much headspace do you take in someone's mind? So if someone reads a 2 second tweet, it's like not much. But if someone takes 5 minutes out of their day to read an email or watch a YouTube video from you, you're going to take up way more headspace in that person's mind and basically build up way more of a relationship opposed to those quick tweets. So my thinking is, okay, how do we redirect all the traffic I generate from short form content, whether it's tweets, whether it's small LinkedIn posts, whether it's a reel, and how do I direct that to long form, which is a newsletter or YouTube video? So my main thing is, how do I take all my social media platforms, direct them to a newsletter, and then when I drop a YouTube video, direct that newsletter traffic to the YouTube video? I think that works
Yeah.
really well.
Speaking of YouTube, what are your thoughts on YouTube? I know you've branched out to it a little bit.
I love YouTube. I think I think
I think
I
it's
love Twitter.
end game.
I love Twitter, but I think YouTube's probably the best for conversions and getting leads and growing long term. It's just so good. If someone can see and hear you, it
Yeah.
just it's undefeated. Especially your teaching stuff, it just builds that relationship so much more. So I think YouTube's a excellent strategy. I'm not huge on YouTube. I think I got like 15K subs now, but YouTube's amazing because, like, I have videos that I created months ago and they're just still getting me traffic, and it's just going to compound over time. So you have a library of videos of whatever around a topic, like that's just going to pay you dividends over time. So I love YouTube. I think it's great.
Yeah, I think like the biggest problem with Twitter is that you don't have a library of your past content. It just disappears after 48 hours unless you pin it or I guess
Mhm.
repost it. But even then, it's not like someone can binge your Twitter as much as they can binge your YouTube.
Yeah, 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 Twitter's cool for hanging out, and obviously, like, I've been growing a following, but I think YouTube is great if you can mix that in.
Do you have sort of plans with YouTube and goals in the next couple of years to go even more on YouTube, like weekly uploads or something like that?
Yeah, I was doing weekly uploads for a bit, and then I just got kind of caught up with business and my cohorts and stuff. But yeah, I definitely want to get more regular on YouTube because I think it's just such a great platform. I just want to create content and obviously, like, build my business. But right now, I'm like really in the weeds with my business. But I'm creating offers where I'll be able to send all that traffic to those offers, which converts people and brings them into my ecosystem. But yeah, right now it's been slower on YouTube for me, but still growing because I have a few videos that just knocked it out of the park and just continue to grow my following. But yeah, I definitely want to get to weekly uploads again. I'm experimenting with monthly uploads, like basically instead of doing a 15-minute video every week, doing an hour-long video in a month. I'm testing that for my next YouTube video. I'm going to see how that performs. Um, because I look at my best performing videos and they're ones I go in depth. So I'm like, okay, let's really go in depth and see how that performs. So I'll be testing that and see how that does.
Yeah, I like YouTube a lot. So I've been wanted to be on YouTube since I was like 9. Ever since I saw someone playing Minecraft making more than a doctor. So it.
Yeah, it's crazy, dude. I have a friend, he teaches people how to get good at Rocket League, the video game, and he
Yeah, I
was
used
making
to
like
play that a lot.
100K a month plus doing that. It's just mind-boggling what you can make on social
Yeah,
media.
yeah, it's incredible. And yeah, the hour-long videos, like, Hamza has started transitioning to that, I think, as of like a month ago, where he just records a loom of like a presentation and goes through it. He's obviously getting less views, but like I guess his business is up because the kind of people that are watching that. And that
Yeah,
Alex Ramosi is similar.
yeah, I was gonna say that. Yeah, yeah. It's like I think that's something I've realized over the past 2 years is the quality is more important than the quantity. Because I know people with 500 to a million followers, 500K to a million followers, and they can barely make any money because they haven't built up a quality audience, and they just screw themselves over. So I think it's better to build slower, but just
Yeah.
attract a higher quality caliber person.
Yeah. I think this is something from Naval where he talks about you want to build like a authentic following and it'll take longer to grow, but exponentially those people will tell you about other people and then it's just a better audience
Yeah,
to have.
100%. Yeah, there's a lot of creators that just there's no soul in their posts. It's just like I can tell this is just you have a ghostwriter or you're just not giving an F about the content you create. And yeah, it's interesting. It's gonna be interesting to see who lasts for the next 5, 10 years and who just kind of withers away.
Mm. Yeah. Um, what would you do if you had to start over and get to 10K a month as fast as possible, and that was really the only goal?
Number one is I would realize this is a game that takes 6 plus months and just reframing it because I think people want to hit 10K a month in the next month, and that forces them to go down the get rich quick schemes, and ultimately it doesn't work out, and then they hop to the next get rich quick scheme, and then that doesn't work out, and they're just constantly restarting and resetting their progress, and they're stuck on this hamster wheel until they quit, and yeah, they go back
Yeah,
to whatever they're
like
doing.
fastest way to sustainable 10K a month rather than like,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I mean, finding a skill that solves problems. So if you obviously want to build an online business, what's an online skill you can learn that can solve people's painful problems? Because at the end of the day, that's why people pay you anything. That's why you buy anything, right? Like you're solving some kind of problem or you're trying to get some kind of desired outcome. So, what's the thing that you have interest in and that there's market demand for? And where does that intersect? For me, it was writing. I enjoy writing. I wasn't an expert writer by any means when I started. I don't think I am now, but I had an interest in it and I knew there's other people that I could help with writing, whether it's copywriting, whether it's ghostwriting or whatever. And I was like, okay, well, it's like something I'm going to learn and get some clients with. And that's the way I would look at it. Like, okay, where are your interests aligned that other people have interest in or that you can help people with? And, you don't have to be an expert, but you do have to have an interest in it because that's what's going to allow you to get better. So, I mean, sales as a closer is a great one. Building funnels as a marketer, web design. Um, what else? Yeah, writing, copywriting, email marketing. There's different stuff like that. Anything that you can really make other people money is a great way to get started because if someone pays me say $1,000 and I make them $2,000, logically they're gonna keep staying on with me, and it's gonna be easier to get clients. But if I'm a life coach, it's harder to quantify the ROI for people, and it might be harder to get clients. So, um, just looking at okay, can I improve someone's life by making them healthier, wealthier, and then there's like the other one happier, but I think health and wealth are the best ones, best problems to solve for people. So yeah.
Yeah, I just had sort of an interesting thought, like for life coaching where it's general, life coaching, I feel like you attract a bit of a less smaller audience because people that can't make money, their biggest problem is money, not if they feel good about themselves. That like they're, I guess like Maslow's hierarchy of needs, like they don't have security of money. So
Yeah.
like life coaching attracts people, which might be better because you don't need as many clients and they'll be willing to pay you more because they have money.
What's it's funny too is like no one wants to buy a life coach from anybody. They want to buy a life coaching from people that have actually done stuff in real life. You know, it's like no one cares that you're 30 years old and you're a fucking mom and you're Karen basically. No one wants to buy life coaching from you. Like, sorry to say, unless you've actually done something significant in life. You know, if someone would buy life coaching from uh, Warren Buffett or Alex Ramosi or whoever, they'd pay a lot of money. But some random person's like, why? So you don't even have your own life figured out, right? So I think, yeah, going and building something, and then down the line if you want to do that. But yeah, just what are the hard skills you can learn that can help people?
Yeah. If you were to restart, do you think you would go all in on your personal brand or you would go all in on ghostwriting? And I don't know if there's a distinction there, but I know that I talked to Taylor and he said that he thinks, I think he said personal branding is sort of a longer term play in the leverage that you build.
Well, I would do both. Like, I don't think it's mutually exclusive. So, I mean, to be a ghostwriter, if you're talking social media, it's like you have to learn how to do it for yourself
Yeah.
first. Otherwise, you're like a fat personal trainer. So, yeah, and I would just document what I'm doing and learning along the way. So it's your personal brand's your long-term investment, and then the skill you're learning is the shorter to medium term, well, long term as well. But I would do it at the same time because you're gonna have an easier time landing clients if you have content. Because the first thing people do when you send a DM to them trying to land them as a client, they're gonna check out your profile. And if you have content that's showing what you're doing, your
Authority.
authority, who you are, it's gonna convert a lot easier. And you're also building an audience of some of those people are gonna become clients. And it's gonna be easier to get clients and convert them. Right. So I think I would do both. This is my cop out answer.
Mhm.
But if I had to choose one at the start, I think I would learn a skill, go get business and get experience and build that way. And then I have something to talk about once I go on
Yeah.
social media. Like a huge problem is something is the reason why I'm stopping. I'm not going to work with like complete beginners anymore with coaching is like, they don't have anything worth talking about. Like they don't do
Yeah.
anything and then they want to grow this following. It's like, I can't teach you how to be interesting. Like you don't do anything. Like it's just such a hard concept for a lot of people to grasp. But you have to go live an interesting life and then talk about it on social media, not just reword other people's posts, right? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. It's interesting because when I look back at the call I had with you, I think I hadn't gone far enough into the game to really have questions that would have been like, oh, okay, now I know what to do. Like,
Mhm.
and this is going to make big impact. Like, leaning into 15 was probably the biggest takeaway I had. But like, I think I ended the call and it wasn't even, we weren't even 30 minutes in. I don't think I fully realized like that I got Dakota Robertson on a call with me. Like, I was like 2 weeks into Twitter, which is crazy that you were on a call, but like now I could probably have like a 4 hour conversation because I understand the game a lot better. So I actually have specific questions. But at that point, I was just kind of lost.
Yeah, you're just trying to navigate like what the hell's going on, right? Like, I totally feel you. And it's something that it's going to continue to evolve over time. Like, there's so many things I don't understand yet that I can't even have a conversation with people about because I just don't understand. But maybe a year or a few months down the line or a few years down the line, it's like, oh yeah, now I can have that conversation about whatever ads. Like, I have no idea how ads operate,
Yeah.
but down the line I probably will. Um, but yeah, it's funny. That's why I love business too, because it's the ultimate form of self-improvement. Because if you don't understand something, you don't grow, you don't make money, and ultimately, you're stuck. But it's like video games. You to unlock the next level, you have to face the boss, and to face the boss, you have to level up in these different areas, get different gear, get some friends together to go on a raid, and then fight the boss. But
Yeah.
it's fun.
Yeah, the funny thing about that call is that I was so lost. Like I wrote a DM, like the original DM, and it was probably 2 pages long in the Google Doc, and then I had an AI look at it, like ChatGPT or something, because I was so nervous, and I was like about to send it, and I was like, should I tell the AI that he has 250,000 followers? And they like cut it in half so it wasn't as long because I had written like an essay originally.
That's so funny. I remember when I was starting out, yeah, I would send DMs to big accounts. I was like, oh shit, like, are they going to respond? And to me, like a big account was 10K followers, 20K followers. I just never thought I would get a response. And yeah, I was always grateful when they did. I was like, oh shit, this is cool. I could just DM people and they'll respond. Like, this is crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
The framework that I use for DMs now that's been useful is 3 things that you like about them, 3 things about you, and then a question. Because it
Mm.
sort of acknowledges that you know something about them and you're not just copy and pasting because if you're personal with them and then sharing about yourself.
Yeah, dude, it's like 99% of the DMs I get just copy pasted or just low level effort. But the people that actually take the time to show that they've consumed my content or actually care about who I am, I'll typically respond to all of those people. That's why I responded to yours, because I could tell it's personalized. You actually put effort into it.
Yeah. I remember I watched a couple of your videos and after you responded, I binged every podcast you had. So I had good things for the call and I still wasn't great. But yeah, it's definitely think that I think I did have one frame of mind was that the first impression I wanted to have with a big account, I wanted it to be personalized and not like I would never copy and paste DMs like, oh, Dan Coe, Dakota Robertson, Kieran Dros, copy and paste the same DM to all 3 of them. Hopefully they
Yeah.
respond. Yeah.
Yeah. It's funny too. Because a lot of us, we talk to each other, and sometimes look at this DM we got, this fucking idiot. It's just like, oh, I got that too. It's funny.
Yeah. I know I recently got a DM where it was like, I saw you under a Matt Gray post or something. And like, I haven't commented on Matt Gray in like a month. And it's just, and you're just like, people just copy and pasting the same DMs to everybody.
Yep, straight up, dude.
Yeah. I think this is will be interesting for you to talk about. I don't know if you get too many questions about what you're doing in your business today. So, what levers do you pull regularly to run your business at the level you're at now?
Right now, a big thing I'm doing is developing systems and processes, because a thing I ran into is I was doing a lot of stuff that could have been delegated or automated, and it was just really disorganized. It's still like there's still a lot of things I need to create to make it run smoother and kind of buy back my time. But it's a lot better now. I've structured um, a lot of processes for creating content because I publish on 5 different platforms, right? So you have to have a process. I have a system where my VA she'll take the links I link what tweets I want turned into images. She'll turn them into images and then distribute them on the platforms at specified times and dates. And yeah, it's like I didn't understand it at the start, even though I heard it. Like systems, like you need to like from the start make systems and processes. And I just it's like, yeah, and I kind of did it, but I'm really feeling the repercussions of lack of systems and processes down the line because you build up this big thing, this big business, and then you don't have systems for this shit, and you're like, oh my god, this is crazy. Like I need to fix this. Oh, now I got to do this. It's just that wouldn't have been a problem if I built the foundations at the start. But it's like, it's like our conversation. It's like you just didn't have the knowledge or the know-how to actually do that. And that was something I invested in last year. It's paid dividends and relieved a lot of stress. So I think developing systems is huge. And the way I do it is I look at, okay, what are the things that I can delegate? What are the things that I could automate? What are the things that take away my energy? And what are the things I like doing? And just kind of splitting them up into those 4 quadrants. And then the stuff that can be delegated, I will make a Loom video of me doing the task and explaining my thought process and then give step by steps on how to do everything while I'm doing it. So my VA can go in and replicate what I'm doing. And she can refer to that if she has any questions on the process or just ask me after. So that's a big thing. Um, but yeah, it really comes down to content, creating content that grows my following, but also nurtures them and builds me as an authority and makes people connect with me. So when I do launch an offer, there's just pent up demand for it and they convert. Like one thing I've ran into is the bottleneck is since I do the cohorts, I only launch every few months. I mean, I haven't launched in 6 months. So that's like a real strain on revenue and actually growing my income. So that's why I'm introducing a community offer where it's going to have the reoccurring element. It's lower ticket. So that way they're in my ecosystem. They're still paying me. And the people, like if I can deliver a great experience for those people, they're going to buy my higher ticket stuff and it's just ultimately going to convert better. And then I can always like send traffic to that community from my social media and I'm growing my revenue. And it's not just like these, peaks and valleys from these cohort launches. So that's the biggest thing I'm working on right now. And I'm not rushing it out. I'm actually being very meticulous with it and structuring it because I really want to make this a really fantastic experience for people. And I don't just want to launch it. So right now I'm not making nearly as much as I was last year, but I think it's going to pay off long term because it's the word of mouth, right? Like what we were talking about. Like if people having a fucking amazing experience from the start, that's going to compound and ultimately work in my favor. Even though short term it's not the best for revenue, but I think longer term it'll do well. And then after the community, I'm gonna probably make a specialized course on a topic, probably be writing, but that'll be a lower ticket product. Probably, I'm not sure what the price will be, but it'll be lower ticket. So that way, anyone that doesn't want to join the community, like they could try the lower ticket product, see it's amazing. Oh shit, I want to join this community. Okay, they ascend into that. And then the people in the community, they ascend to the higher ticket, maybe one-on-one coaching or group coaching. And you see it's like this, I don't know, the stepping stone. Because it takes,
Mm.
if I was to pitch a 5K service or a 5K product or coaching offer, someone that's consumed my content to go to that is a big leap. But if someone buys a $50
Like a
ebook,
tripwire.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. It's just you're slowly ascending them up. I think it's just a lot easier. So I'm building out my offer ecosystem to put it shortly.
That's really
That's my
cool.
ramble.
It seems like a lot of creators are moving into the community, both big and small.
Yeah.
I know Talon started micro creators,
Hmm.
but yeah, what are your thoughts on
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. It's like naturally I want to go the other way of what people are doing.
That's what I was sort of thinking.
But I mean, I think as well. I mean, everyone's going to school. I don't like school. I don't get it. Like,
If
I
you
mean,
really
it's
like Alex
simple.
Ramosi.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. It's like you got dark mode, but dude, you don't even have like a real time chat. Like you just can only post. Like it's just
Mm,
a shitty experience in my opinion. So I think like one thing you can differentiate is the platform you use. Like
yeah,
everyone's doing school. Okay, I'm not going to do school. I'm going to use something else. So like finding different ways to differentiate, and then also people are just like half-assed with their communities. Like I joined one for that was $217 a month or 250 a month. It was just like this half-assed curriculum, and I was like, what the fuck is this? And it was like one call a week. It's just like shit, and it didn't feel like a community. It just felt like a shitty school group with some shitty courses thrown together at a high premium price. And I was like, what is this? So I think I
yeah,
can do it. I think I can do it better than most people. Maybe it's me being delusional, but I think if you actually give a fuck about the people inside and cultivating a culture, I think you can stand out from everybody else. So even though everyone's doing community now, I think I can do it better than them, but we'll see.
differently.
Yeah, different. Exactly. Yeah, different.
Yeah, definitely. One I think the most successful people with that has been Hamza. The culture he builds in his community is impressive. Where it's like a cult.
Yeah. 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 He's solid. Well, I don't actually don't know if he's solid. I know his cult is solid. I know they've been criticizing him lately because he's just flip flopping and stuff. But No,
Yeah.
props to that guy. He's killing it.
Yeah. How do you plan to sort of like lower your churn rate for the community?
I think a big thing is personalizing, and it goes back to the creating um, an emotional connection with people. So maybe I'm thinking about limiting how many people I take in at once. So I'll probably do like kind of launches with the community. I'm still figuring out how to do communities. I'm reading into it. But I think maybe like only taking in 50 people at a time, bring them in, like really focus on them and make them like part of the culture. And then once they're
Indoctrinate them.
yeah, and once they're indoctrinated, then you open it back up, bring those next people in, and then since those people from the prior um, openings are more indoctrinated, there's more of a culture. Then the people in the next group, they're going to be more.
Mingling. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like if there's that community sense, then I think it's going to go over a lot better. Opposed to bringing 300 people at once, you're trying to like, what the fuck's going on? Like I got this and that. So I think if you can really maybe again sacrifice short-term revenue,
Yeah.
but do it well, and then launch a bigger group. Like I think that's the way to do it. But that's just me, just spouting stuff like I have no experience in. But we'll see. That's what I'm thinking right now. But also like going the extra mile, like um, just doing stuff that doesn't scale, like whether it's a personalized video, whether it's hopping on calls with people, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
It really goes a long way. And like right now, I have a small community from cohort for my cohort members. From my last cohort, I was like, fuck it, I'm going to create a small community. And yeah, just like going all out for them. I'm trying to. And I think it, like, I had one of the members message me today. They're like, hey, man, like, I saw you, like, your energy wasn't that high on the call. Like, are you doing all right? And it's like, fuck, like one of the members is like asking how I'm doing personally, and
Yeah.
it just means a lot. And it's like it's really
Hmm.
cool. And I actually felt like I was part of a community because they actually cared about me. And I was like thinking, like, well, if you just do that for other people, they're going to feel the same thing, right? So I think that
Yeah.
goes a long way. And I think a lot of people they're building a community, but they're really just trying to build a funnel, or they're trying to
Stack a bunch of
make
courses.
money. It's like, yeah, like I'm trying to fucking make money too, but I'm also like I actually care about people and I want them to succeed as well. And I think that really shines through on your interactions with those people, and goes a long way. And also being selective with who you take in and being more polarizing with your marketing, with your messaging. Like for me, for example, with my email course, I think there's like fake testimonial of this.
Yeah.
It's like this fucking stupid person meme, and it's just kind of talking about like this free
Politically
email
incorrect.
course is
Yeah.
horrible. It was triggering like microaggressions, like stuff like that. Because I don't want to attract those people into my ecosystem because it's just not going to be a
Yeah.
good fit. I don't subscribe to the politically correct stuff, and they're just not going to like it. So I'm just trying to repel those people. But by doing that, I'm attracting the people that vibe with that message, that way of thinking, that philosophy, that they don't like the politically correct stuff. They like just being, funny, stupid
Yeah.
humor, and just like they can take a joke.
Mm.
Um, so yeah, I think also being clear on who you don't want and making that well known. I think that's a great way to
Yeah.
build connection.
Yeah. It seems like playing the long term game often is the best, especially at your stage where the short term income isn't something that's super important. And even if you need the short term income, it's like once you get that, it's good to focus on the long term game.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I think that's the biggest thing is just focusing on the next few years and not just the next few months or the next few days, right? Like just actually, if you're in this for the long haul, you just start thinking on longer time frames, and you see how things will have ripple effects. And you might not pay for it now, but you will down the line. And I think the smarter people, they just extend their time horizons.
Yeah. Um, Moving on to sort of your personal life, I know that you played video games a lot when you were a kid. And what kind of impact do you think that's had on who you are today?
um, I think it really it made me view life as a video game a lot. Yeah, I use the analogy a lot, and I think it also made me think more strategically. Like I really like strategy games. Like I used to. I think even Call of Duty isn't really a strategy. It kind of is a strategy game, but thinking about okay, how do we like plan this out so we achieve this outcome? How do you work together? How do you handle challenges? And basically think more strategically. I think that was useful. Um, I yeah, I think that was probably the main influence it had on me. I have an addictive personality too, so also had like a lot of negative. Yeah, so yeah, pretty much obsessed with video games as a kid. I had to sell my Xbox during the pandemic because I was playing it too much, like 12 hours a day, and I just wasn't being productive at all.
Yeah, I was probably
Um,
doing that as well, though.
yeah, I mean, oh god, Warzone's so fun. I love that stuff. But yeah, I love video games. I still love video games. I just know that I can't have it near me. Like maybe when I come back home and like I'll game out on some Spider-Man or
Yeah,
Baldur's Gate or whatever. But you know, when I'm working for most of the year, just stay away from that stuff. But I think as long as like video games aren't a problem, it's the moderation of it. Like if you can, play for an hour a day and you're fine, that's fine. Me, if I
yeah,
play for an hour, I want to play for freaking
7 hours.
10. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
crazy. I love it. But
yeah,
yeah, I got to be careful. But I just turn life into a video game, right? Like business is a
yep,
video game. Like you put in inputs, you level up, you get new stuff, and fight bigger bosses.
yeah. I think the thing that helps me, like I recently was obsessed with FIFA after watching the Euros for soccer, and it's sort of like like I'm like the manager of the team or whatever. I'm getting praise. I'm like the rewards in video games kind of just pale in comparison to doing something in real life. So like the
Yeah,
moment I kind of think about that, I'm just like, why am I doing this? Kind of this is boring compared
yeah.
to going
Well,
out
it's
and actually
like
building something.
you change as a person if you do it in real life. You don't change really as a person
Yeah,
if you do it in a video game, right? You change
eating
maybe the
Cheetos. Yeah.
character, but it's like you're the main character in life, and it's cool to look back and see how far you've come after a few years, and it's really meaningful. And then you also have impact on people's life in real life. The more you develop as a person, the more impact you can have on other people. Like I can reach how many hundreds of thousands of people now and indoctrinate them on like my way of thinking or help people out. And that's really cool because those people can go help other people in their life and level up. And it's this big MLM, ethical MLM.
Yeah, I definitely. Yeah, I think the biggest aspect of video games that I do like was the social aspect. Like that was probably my best friends at that time was from video games because you just spend so much time, and then also family. Like if you're playing video games with them, that can be
Mhm.
fun, and that's why I got back into FIFA playing with my dad. And then I go and play by myself, and that's when it goes too far into like obsession. And
Yeah.
then he won't play with me anymore because I got too good of playing like 6 hours by myself. Yeah. Um, what? And then you also got involved in the gym during high
Mhm.
school or younger. What kind of
Yeah.
impact do you think that has had?
Oh, that was probably the biggest impact on my life because I was made fun of for being chubby as a kid, and I didn't like myself. I really didn't. And yeah, I don't know. I just woke up like just wake up and I just I don't know, just didn't like who I was, and I would cry a lot, and I don't know, it just wasn't fun, especially when you have people make fun of you too. Just point it out, just like God, like I just wanted the approval of other people so bad, and then when I didn't get that because of how I looked, it just yeah, it's just really stung. But thankfully, my mom's boyfriend and I started going to the gym when I was around 12, and that had a huge impact on me. I mean, I was in sports my whole life, but it wasn't until I actually started going to the gym and actually working out hard in these group YMCA classes that I started to really, I felt like I was taking control of my life because I wasn't, passively just letting it
Yeah.
make me a victim, right? I was actually going out and I was putting in fucking work
And
to
getting results too.
yeah, like I was killing this old version of myself. And every workout, I'd be drenched in sweat. There's times I would run to the bathroom to throw up because I was working out so hard. Because I had this drill instructor, pretty much drill instructor for the YMCA boot camps, and he would yell at us, and we'd have the heavy metal music playing, and it's like 6 a.m. We're all just like on this one mission together, and it just felt really good. I felt good about myself after those workouts, and I felt like I wasn't a piece of shit. And I was starting to like myself more and more as I progressed. And it moved away from over time, like running away from who I was and then moving toward who I wanted to become.
Mm.
It made me realize when I saw that the first progress, the first amount of progress, like looking in the mirror and just seeing like, oh shit, I'm not really so fat anymore. I'm starting to lean out. I just realized, oh, if you just do stuff consistently over time, you're doing the
You get
right stuff.
results.
Yeah,
Hmm.
you get results. And then it was really empowering for me because I was like, well, if I can do that with my fitness, what else can
Mm.
I do that with my mind, with my business, whatever? And it was just a lesson I internalized at a young age that I've applied to everything else in life. And it just taught me compounding is real. And yeah, it was really empowering for me. And it just also started to build the foundation for my confidence. It didn't make me confident like overnight, but it definitely helped and just
Like
translated to
have
everything else.
evidence.
Yeah,
Like you have
exactly. Like
evidence.
I
Yeah.
could look at myself in the mirror. It's like, you earned that. Like those biceps you got, you earned that, motherfucker. Like be proud of yourself.
Yeah.
And I think like a reason why so many people are depressed nowadays or anxious or just purposeless because they're not building anything meaningful.
Mm.
So
Yeah.
like you see people build a business, people build their body, people build sculptures, art, and they're so fulfilled because they're doing something outside of themselves. They're they're using like I think the human experience, I think the biggest part of that is creation. Like that's why
Purpose.
yeah, like I think if people actually created stuff something larger than themselves, they would stop
Yeah.
being
Like,
depressed or anxious or like, mind you, there's people that just have the chemical imbalances. And yeah, I think that's a big part. But I mean, even then, I think a lot of these mental illnesses can be solved by building something. And I think the people that aren't building stuff are the ones that are hating people in the comments. They're just miserable with their lives. They just want to spread misery because they don't have anything. They're not working on anything greater than themselves. And they feel like they need to lower other people to raise themselves up rather than raising themselves up, right? Because it's just easier to talk shit in the comments. Those people they're just not doing anything in their lives, and it's kind of sad. Um, so I think yeah, just working on something and working on a craft and progressing. I think it's one of the most fulfilling things you can do, especially as a man.
yeah.
I think that's yeah, at least my
Yeah.
experience.
It's like there's a meaning and purpose crisis, I think, is how I had Brian Meyerhofer on, and he said something like that, where people just lack meaning and a purpose. And I think definitely like building something, creating craft is one of the best ways to have a purpose because, like you said, it's something bigger than yourself. And I think that's basically what purpose is.
Yeah, it connects us. It's like where because with creation you struggle and you have to overcome those struggles and you progress and the feeling's so good. And it's like I think sports as well is a huge thing. Like the most successful people I know had some kind of sport growing up and
Yeah.
they internalize the lessons from losing or struggling and challenge. And I think a lot of people have missed out on that nowadays. And it's really easy to tell the people that are really soft is they haven't experienced any struggle in their life. And it doesn't have to be, tough upbringing and all that, but it's like no struggle whatsoever. It's like we give them participation medals, and we tell them, "Oh, you're amazing. Everything's sunshine and rainbows." And I think if you introduce struggle into someone's life, I think it's great for building character and introducing them to how life really is. And I
Yeah.
think that's
Reality.
why we have safe spaces now, is because people just can't handle it because they didn't have struggle in their life, and they're like, "Oh, this is fucking microaggressions." Like, okay. you're a pussy. Go struggle. Go to the gym. Go, I don't know,
Yeah.
do something, right?
Yeah. I think there's something like the worst thing that's ever happened to you is the worst thing that's ever happened to you. And like once the worst thing that's ever happened to them is like not getting the right color Lamborghini for their 16th birthday,
Yeah, it's
then
sad,
that's
man.
your reference point for the rest of things that happen.
Yeah, it's actually pretty sad to see. It's
Yeah.
like no purpose in their life.
Yeah. It's very shallow, not a lot of depth.
Yeah.
Um, your childhood and early 20s obviously significantly impacted who you are today. Is there any lessons you take away from that time and any like happy memories you look back on?
Yeah, I mean, finding finding what you're good at is a huge thing, and that takes experimentation. I think a lot of people think they need to have things figured out from the get-go, but it's like, in the reality, it's you're going to try different stuff and you're going to see what, you didn't like from one job maybe, and you're like, okay, now I can narrow my focus a bit more and see, maybe I like this. Oh, I didn't like that. Okay, now I know I don't like that and I can try something else. For me, it was a lot of experimentation of different jobs, different side hustles, until I actually found what I wanted to do. Um, Also, putting yourself outside of your comfort zone was huge for me. So for me, because I was made fun of as a kid or whatever, my upbringing, I didn't have much self-confidence. I was more like socially anxious or shy. I had to really, really work on that to become confident. And like at the start, like it was starting small talk at the grocery store with the clerk, because they got to talk to you, and that was a big step for me because I was nervous even just saying, hey, how's your day going? But then I did that enough times, I got my reps in, and then eventually it just became normal. It was like, oh, hey, how's your day going? I kind of leveled up, and then it moved up to maybe starting a conversation with a person at a cafe or coffee shop, and then it moves up to talking to someone at the gym or a stranger at the mall or asking for a girl's number, and you're just continuously leveling up. And over time you look back like, holy shit, like all those small moments added up. So just pushing yourself outside your discomfort or your comfort zone, that was probably the biggest thing for me. I was willing to do that, like, so much. And there's times where I pussied out with a lot of stuff, but you know over the long haul, I did the uncomfortable stuff. I tried new things. I took risks, and I think that was a big part too, is taking risks and actually betting on yourself with different things, or questioning why you got to do things a certain way. Like, why do I got to go to college and then get a mortgage and work a job for 40 years? You know, and a big one was looking at the people that had the life I wanted and listening to them. Like, what did they do? And not taking, like, I love my family, but a lot of them, I think all of them, pretty much all of them, didn't have the life I wanted to live. So I took their advice with a grain of salt. Like, obviously, they had good advice with some things, but a lot of it's like they didn't have money, and then they didn't have the life I wanted. So why would I do what they want me to do, or what they say I should do? And it's just building that trust in myself, and maybe at the start delusion that I can make things work. Um, and I'm just really glad I did that, and I had the balls to do it. Um, and I think visualizing death, the concept of death, is really useful too. Like, to think, to really like realize you're going to die one day, and to actually understand that, whether you're going to heaven or wherever after, or whether it's like complete blackness. For me, I want to do it all. I don't want to leave anything left on the plate. Like, I want to lick the plate clean, and I want to try all these different stuff before I go, and to have impact on the world. And I think for me, the regret I would feel if I didn't take risks or bet on myself or do stuff that was outside my comfort zone, that was scarier to me than the fear of failing and not living the life I wanted to live. So I think understanding that and reflecting on that a lot is really useful for giving you context, especially on your problems too. Like, if if everyone just realized they're gonna die one day and like fucking microaggressions and safe spaces, like it's like, come on, like, is this like really your biggest problem in life? Like, really? I'm gonna get
Yeah.
canceled, but I think just understanding you're gonna die one day, I think it's really big motivator for me.
Yeah. It sort of sounds like the book of your life, you wouldn't want to leave that unfinished, or
Yeah,
there was things you didn't do
yeah,
in that book.
exactly. Yeah, I actually journal. I have like three full like journals like filled out, and I sometimes I'll think like people down the line and my do whatever kids, grandkids are probably going to read this one day. It's just cool that I'm like documenting my life, and they can read what I was doing at different points in my life, and they could even me. I reflect on stuff I like years ago, just seeing what I was going through. Like when I first started writing in a journal, I I was in such a shitty place, and I was had like I was away from friends. I was working 84 hours a week. I just did not like my life. And just looking at my life now is like, holy shit, what a journey. And it's so cool to see the progression in each of those entries, and a lot of nostalgia and stuff I forgot about. It's just really cool to document and see.
Yeah. Um, Moving on to sort of a lighter note, one of your good friends asked me to ask you this question. What is the concept of Moi, and how has the concept of Moi changed your life?
Oh my god. Yeah. So I was living in Panama and with Talon and Dale, and I was single at the time, and I don't know, I was on Bumble or Tinder or whatever, and matched with the one chick that seemed cool. And she said, "Hey, we're going on this thing called a Chiba bus. You should come." And so a Chiba bus is a bus that is really popular in Latin America, but a bus you go on, there's a bartender, no seats. You just party on the bus. There's music. There's a bus driver just driving. You're just partying, drinking, getting screwed up. And so I was like, okay, yeah, I'll go to this thing. I've never done this. Cool. So I asked Dale, my roommate, if he wanted to come because he was single too. And he was like, yeah, I'll come. So we're going to this random bus. No idea what to expect. Me and these women I've never met before. And yeah, we get on this bus. We're only white guys there. We don't speak Spanish. We don't know what the fuck's going on, but we're getting shit faced. I got so like I don't drink often, but when I do, I go hard, and it's like one of my bad traits. That's why I try to not drink. Um, but I just like fuck it, let's shots, whatever. And I just got blackout drunk. And at the end of that bus ride, I was so shit faced. I was so drunk, like gone, blackout. I barely even remember this, but I remember we were at a restaurant at like 2 a.m. and yeah, with that girl that I was talking to, I think two other Spanish people and Dale. And I'm just like, I'm like barely, I'm an NPC. I don't even understand what's going on. And
Your soul
they're
left
like,
your body.
yeah, pretty much. And they're like, Dakota, you okay? And I was like, muy gay. You're like, you guys are muy gay. So muy means very in Spanish. I was just saying, you guys are muy gay. Like, I don't know why I was saying that. I was just like, I don't know. It's just like stupid. And they're like, what? I was like, you guys are fucking muy gay. It's just dumb. Just stupid, like caveman talk. Um, and yeah, to put it simply, Dale remembers it. I don't even remember it, and I blew it with that woman. I think any attraction she had to me was lost that moment, and yeah. So whenever Talon and Dale are around, and I don't know, we just say "moy." We're like "moy." We're like "moy." Like whenever something happens, like "yeah, moy, moy." It's just like "yeah." That's how it is. I don't know. I don't know. It's such
Yeah.
a weird story, like how it came about. But yeah, now it's a part of our everyday lingo.
And so that's so funny. Taylor asked me to ask you that and see your
Yeah.
reaction. But yeah, it's sort of like It's like if you're like speaking to someone in Spanish and the only thing you can say is like hola, it's like muy,
Yeah,
muy.
exactly. Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah, like whenever we don't know what the fuck's going on, we're like, "Yep, moi, yeah, moi, moi, moi."
Yeah.
Or you just
I've
think it's
heard it.
funny.
I've heard it's dangerous. I think Wealthy Expat. I think the
Yeah.
YouTube channel I listened talked about how it's dangerous with women in Latin America countries because
Oh yeah. Yeah.
do crazy stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Especially in Colombia, they'll drug your drink, and yes, no bueno. I didn't really
Yeah,
go on too many dates, but I think I have like a decent eye for who's actually no, I'm probably just delusional. I have a bad judge of character. I'll admit that typically. But I'm getting better. But yeah, you got to be watch out, especially in Latin America as a white person. You're just got an immediate target on your back.
yeah. I've heard one of the better places for white Americans is Argentina because they're light skinned there, so you're not standing out.
Oh, I would still stand out. I don't look Argentinian. Just some white Canadian.
Yeah. As we come to the end, if you could have the audience only take one thing away after listening, what would it be?
Do more uncomfortable shit, take risks, and realize you're gonna die. I think just like really internalize. I can't stress that enough. I think I see so many people, they're just going through the motions in life. And I've seen it with my grandpa. He was a really hardened guy and like, macho man. And he got he got lung cancer, and it was inoperable, so it was terminal, and he chose assisted suicide. But I remember just talking to him on his last day, and he was just like normal, drinking his coffee like any other day, and he's just like, no, we're just talking to him, and we're just asking him about life, and he like the one thing he said was like, it all went by so quick, and I'll never fucking forget that. Just how he said it. It was just kind of nostalgic, but also like regret in his voice, and yeah, it just really hit home for me. Just seeing that, and I think a lot of people are like that, and yeah, it's sad to see because I know that that moment's going to come for a lot of people, and they're like, oh, like that was it, lights out. So yeah, I think really internalizing that is one of the best things you can do for your life.
Wow. Wow. That is an amazing way to end this off and
Yeah,
very powerful. So thank you for coming on,
gotcha.
Dakota.
Thank you for having me, brother. Appreciate it. I'm honored to be one of the first few.